swag out there and bow.
What's going on, guys? Webster Style, the man, the voice, the fragrance, and we're here with, well, if you watch my content, you know, especially today, my latest video today, uh, fragrance dent, you'll know that I've used this fragrance quite a lot, and I need a re-up. So we're going to talk about that too, Sean. But I'm here with Mr. Shawn Crenshaw from Ovation Fragrances. Sean, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing good, Eldon. I appreciate you having me, man. You know, you have been a big supporter from day one, man. So this is an honor and a privilege to have this opportunity to talk to you one on one. So I appreciate it, man.
Well, thank you. I appreciate your time, and yes, I've enjoyed Ovation for quite a while, and it is one of my first recommendations. I always tell. I've had a couple friends purchase it because of my recommendations. They have not been disappointed whatsoever. So I guess I am an influencer to some to some extent.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And you know, because every time you make a post, I always see an uptick. It's either in people following me, you know, purchases. I mean, the whole nine, man. So I appreciate everything that you've done to push
Thank
the
you.
fragrance forward. It means a lot.
Thank you, thank you. I'm all about supporting indie brands, especially black-owned brands, as you've seen by my content as well. So I'm always about that. But let's talk about that. And I know you've talked before, just as far as really wanting to create something different in the fragrance market, and I think that particularly even pre-pandemic, past 5 years, we have seen a very big shift in indie fragrances. You know, before
Mhm.
the conversation online was very much dominated by, you know, your designers, but also your more niche. Now, I wouldn't even say a lot of those niche houses are indie brands per se, but I'm talking about indie brands. So it's like 1, 2, 3 man sort of operations that just have a dream and are going with it. So what really inspired you and your partners to create Ovation for Men?
You know, it started really from a consumer perspective, recognizing that there was a void in the market of brands that look like me in their messaging and in their branding. It was really that simple. You know, I'm a big fragrance fan, a big fragrance consumer. I grew up in a fragrance consuming household. My dad and cousins and uncles, and you know, fragrance made up a big part of our swag, big part of our style. And you know, it was quite evident that we were spending a lot of money on brands that didn't look like us, or at least the, you know,
Right.
the messaging was nowhere close. You know, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with romanticizing about a six pack and your hair slicked back and some speedos with, you know, you know, attractive people in each arm, but that wasn't me, you know.
Right.
And so I wanted to create a brand that was more reflective of what I thought was important in life, and that was about you know, striving for excellence and you know, having a style, a personal style, and personal swag that gave me confidence and gave me purpose and drive. And so I wanted a fragrance that complemented my mindset and
Right.
complemented people in my intimate circle who had a similar mindset and those who taught me to have that mindset. And so I knew that there was an opportunity if a brand could be created that really authentically spoke to people who walk like me, talk like me, look like me, that we could create a brand in the market. And so that was the beginning of Ovation for Men.
That sounds very familiar because that's how I got started with all this back in 2009, 2010. I, you know, anything that you saw representing us was like King or Double XL. I forget some of the other magazines that were very much about urban culture, but nobody looked like me. And then you look at GQ, Detailed, Esquire. Nobody looks
Mm-hmm.
like me. Nobody looked like you. And they didn't really speak to the sensibilities of somebody like me. And that's where all this is born from. So I totally understand that mind frame with creation of Ovation.
Absolutely, yeah. And I tell you, man, and I follow you and all the great content and interests that you have. Man, I'm curious too. Like, you know, there's an intersection of many interests that you explore and you bring together. I'm curious too a little bit about your background and your interests. And I mean, you do a lot of your fragrance. You know, I see you. You know, some of the other interviews that you do and some of the topics and industries. So what brought all those interests together?
Well, a lot of Webster style was originally titled "The Definition of the New Urban Male" because it was very much a response to like a Details, GQ, Esquire, back when it all started. And the plan was just to really look at that sort of segment from I would say black male point of view, but a men of color point of view. And it slowly evolved from that, kind of having that couple years. In about 2014, I think there was a pivot just because of some life-changing events. I wouldn't say a pivot. I did the podcast before. I'm always been in tech, so I had friends at the time that worked at cell phone companies. So we talked about the latest phones, talked about style. I always went to conventions. I always did that. So talked to creators at comic conventions. I've always been in the comics and anime and stuff like that. So, but I never really, I guess, focused on that as much as part of Webster style. And when I had the life changing events of 2014, I wasn't as heavy in it. And then once I started back, I will say, like really heavy back in say 2017, 2018, because I was still here. Things had changed because I got into fragrances then. So I started really pushing that. And I really just started to explore more of what my passions were with this. And so it changed to uh, redefining the definition of a gentleman, because it's not just, I don't want this to be seen in one light. Like you can love fragrances, you can love comics, anime, whatever it is your passion is. And that's a lot of what I wanted to do before, but it never happened with other men I was in working with, but everybody has their own passion, so they did their own thing. So I just really started to do with that, the podcast as well. Once I got a formula for that, like that started to really mold and shape how I expressed. And then just making connections over the years with my man Kuya P over at Nerds Will War. I've known him, goodness, 10 plus years now. And he actually, I was connected with him through another friend of mine who I've known almost 30 years. No, goodness gracious, getting old. Just connections in that space. So it's like I did a podcast with my man. That kind of stopped. He went into some other things and then got hooked up with Kuya P. He's like, hey, I need somebody to do a video game show. Hey, I'm available. Well, I started doing that, doing wrestling. And he and some of his connections with all his media have got me connections with some of the other interviews I've had lately. Um, and it's just a lot of it now is it's one, especially with interviews, I want to highlight people as people regardless of what they do, which is specifically why some of the interviewees I have, regardless of their occupation, it's really about who they are and what they're about and what they stand for, not so much to define them by what they do. As far as the style, it's still very much about this is who I am, this is what Webster style is, and it is not this, hey, I am born and raised from Baltimore, Baltimore City. Most people would never think about it until I start pronouncing to or do or something like that. Nobody thinks that because of how I carry myself and how I present myself. And that's really those sort of stereotypes of what I try to dispel by at least this public image. And this is anybody that knows me knows this is how I'm in real life. Pretty much I've always been this person. Webster style is not a facade. This is me. Just not no so much the Webster part, at least legally speaking. So that's where a lot of this came from and how it's evolved. So I do what I do on my site. I help out my peoples as far as Kuya P, and I'm always down to work with people. We talk about things that we love and we're passionate about. Talk about baseball, video games, colognes, style, comics, cosplay. It doesn't matter. I'll talk about it.
No, that's great. That's great. Well, I tell you, that's what Ovation for Men is all about too, is, just celebrating, you know, us being us and all the different facets, the intersectionality of our interests, and it all comes together. And what I propose to do and what I'm doing with the brand is expressing all of our complexity, all of the things that make us great, through the beauty and artistry of a fragrance, and in the brand messaging. And, I want my customers to know that, the fragrance is just another tool, another piece of, their personal style that accentuates whatever they're passionate about, and they can always feel comfortable to reach for it in their fragrance wardrobe, knowing that no matter where they go, that Ovation for Men will compliment them, make them feel good, and receive compliments from others. And so, everything that you mentioned is we take that into account when we think about every aspect of the fragrance. And we wanted to celebrate and again push forward all of the greatness that we possess and all of our interests. And so everything that you just expressed is all tied into what we think about when we try to pull together the fragrance and the campaigns and the imagery and the messaging. All that comes together.
Well, the fragrance itself is exactly how you describe it. That is, again, there are a handful of fragrances that I just say, hey, these are the ones you should get because these are just the versatility of them, but they're versatile but classy at the same time. And that's one of the things I like about Ovation. I could wear Ovation anywhere and work pretty much anywhere, but there's a classiness to it. And again, I own a fair number of fragrances, but there are a lot of fragrances out there. But for me, there are a few that I'm like, okay, I can wear this to a black tie affair. I can wear this to the office. I can wear if I'm just running to buy groceries, And for me as well, my spouse is, I don't know if she just has a dead nose or what, but everything smells musky to her, or it just, even if there's no musk, I'm like, what are you smelling? There are very few, when a fragrance stops her or gets her attention, I remember each and every one, and there aren't many in my whole collection. There aren't many where she just makes a like she stops and comments. And the first time I wore Ovation is one of those times where she stops and just, what are you wearing? Like, it smells good. And they literally like their whole collection of it, like five, I can say that it's happened with. Like, she's like, oh, that smells nice. But when she just stops and just takes notice, Ovation is definitely one of the ones she took a notice of the first time. So it definitely does its job. So you talk about the formation of what it's for. Now you're expanding your product line and you're bringing out sport. Tell me about sport and how that came about.
Yeah. Ovation for Men Sport is our new fragrance that we will be launching next month. And Ovation for Men Sport came about really recognizing that we wanted to diversify our product line. But in addition to diversify the product line, we wanted to reach even a broader and more diverse client base than what, say, our traditional client for Ovation for Men. We wanted to project a product that celebrated a somewhat of a younger demographic, a hipper demographic, a lifestyle that was busy and vibrant, and on the go. And so we thought Ovation for Men Sport would be, and particularly in the sports category, fragrance, the sports category is more so about branding and messaging than it is formulation and notes and things like that. I mean, it's all
Right.
about, I mean, overall, I mean, it's, something aromatic, fresh, clean, spring, summer, um, functionality. But, we wanted to offer our brand in that category and take advantage also of what was happening in the athletic space with name, image, and likeness. Name, image, and likeness is now taking hold throughout college and high school athletics. And so we saw it as a perfect fit to merge our desire to launch a second brand in this sports category, but additionally see how we can leverage name, image, and likeness with up and coming athletes to help promote and be ambassadors for the brand. And then again, it just gives us another creative avenue to push our brand forward. And so slightly different messaging, different imagery, introducing the brand into a different demographic and giving my team the creative freedom to push the envelope even further for us internally and, just in fragrance space overall. I think we're one of the first of a few that are even entertaining the name, image, and likeness space and going about it the way we're doing it, particularly targeting African American men. And so we think that what we're doing definitely separates us in the market. We feel like our imagery, our branding, and everything that we're doing is trailblazing. There's nothing in the market like it and what we're doing, and so we really think we can generate some excitement. And so far, we're seeing people really excited and wanting to be a part of the movement. And so we're really optimistic and excited about what's going to happen here over the next couple of months going into the holiday season.
That's actually where I was going next to ask you about the name and license, because you've been very aggressive, to say the least, with regards to how you've been positioning using that avenue and then the marketing for sport. And your explanation makes perfect sense. It's a younger demographic, and what better way of doing that um, outside of, especially now, really utilizing that ability for a name and license. But also, you're absolutely right, especially in the fragrance one. I would say a lot of, it's not something that I've seen outside of major advertisers, uh,
Mm-hmm.
that they haven't utilized that ability to use name and license of tapping into those markets. And I think that that really is in very much a way revolutionary, especially in the fragrance world, because I'm thinking of one. I don't see much advertisement for fragrances. I remember, and I can never find this commercial. I really wish I could. It was maybe about a year or two ago. It was a YouTube commercial, and it was for, I feel like it was for Creed Aventus. It was for some Aventus fragrance, but it was mostly minorities. It was like a club scene, or some sort of party scene. And I was shocked, and one, like, it was absolutely horrible. It was why I probably can't find it anymore. But two, I'm like, I'm seeing a commercial for a fragrance. I'm seeing a commercial for this particular fragrance, and is directly targeting people of color, which I thought was absolutely fascinating. I don't see much marketing in general outside of the aforementioned, GQs, Esquires, those sort of fashion magazines, the circular for Ulta that comes from my spouse every so often. I don't see a lot of advertisements or marketing outside of, Dior and all of them, with depth, the big name fragrances. So it is interesting and very refreshing to see what Ovation is doing with Ovation for Men's Sport. But also, I think it really speaks to how social media can be utilized by smaller brands, where you
Mm-hmm.
don't need to have a advertisement on YouTube, where you can literally utilize and leverage, you know, the network you've built on social media, because social media is really networking. This is what all this is, and really use that to extend your brand without, a humongous advertising budget, or just, even with a minimum reach, you can have a maximum impact on the advertisement exposure for your brand.
Absolutely. Our team, we think about is this is our mantra. We call them the three C's. There's first, let's form a community, and when we say form a community, it's either create a community or go identify and support a community that's consistent with our brand mission, our brand values and principles. So establishing that community, and the great thing about the fragrance industry and the fragrance space is there's a vast ecosystem of fragrance connoisseurs, fragrance collectors, fragrance enthusiasts. And so from day one, we knew it was important for us to just engulf ourselves in the community. Go to Scent Explore, go to the conferences, follow the people, the fragrance reviewers, the YouTube reviewers, comment, do our best to offer our product to and support their platforms, and help generate the content. Um, the second piece, the second C, is actually the content. We figure if we can identify that community and then create content that is representative of that community, and be consistent in how we distribute the content, put the content out, the quality of the content, the frequency of the content. We feel like with those three things, with community, content, and consistency, then we can convert that into cash, into sales. And so it's community, it's content, it's consistency, which then leads to conversion. And those are the things that I try to preach to people that ask me, hey, how do we go from just an idea to where we are now? That was it. And it's all about really supporting the community. And
Right.
again, if you can't create the community, then find the community that represents you and you support it. Support it with all your, with everything you can. That's, like I said, I'm going out and I'm liking, I'm reposting in the social media world. And then if you have conferences, go to the conferences and network and figure out how you can, find those synergies to collaborate on things. And so we've been quite consistent, because I tell people this, and you may not even realize, but there's been many years where I didn't have product, but I was still out here building my brand. And people say, well, Shawn, how did you build your brand without product? I say, well, I go back to my 4 C's. I engulf myself in the community, created the content. We were consistent with the content. And then, we built up this demand. So when we did have product, it was an easy conversion. And so we've been able to sustain the brand and sustain our business. And now we're at a point where now we have we're about to go into a season where we've got the most inventory we've ever had since the brand has been launched. We got the best content across, 2 product lines. We're doing trailblazing things in the name, image, and likeness space. So, we're really excited about what's coming. And I think, we're really going to push the envelope further and show independent brands what we can do on a limited budget, and just tapping into the culture. Because that's the other thing. That's our 5th C, is the culture. Making sure that everything we do is relevant to the culture. We believe in the culture. I want to double down on the culture. And if it's not related to the culture, we want the brand to be where the culture is either created, where the culture is experienced, or where the culture is celebrated. Those are the 3 areas where you always see Ovation. If you're a culture, you're out there creating things new to the culture, then we're going to identify you and we're going to celebrate you. We're going to be in the places where the culture is being experienced. If that's art, if that's music, if that's sports, if that's business, if that's politics, we're going to identify the players that are out there really leading the experiential facet of the culture, and we're going to celebrate them. And then we're going to be places where the culture is being celebrated. That's the whatever award show, whatever magazine, whatever newspaper, whatever blog is celebrating the culture. We're going to be there. So that's kind of what has made us where we are, and it's gotten us where we are. And I believe in it, and there's nothing that's going to stop us. Nothing.
Well, I definitely agree with that. You bring up something I think is very, very telling, and that is not the first time I heard the community aspect. When I talked to George Harv a couple of weeks ago, he very much talked about the community, because he was, I would say, embedded, so very much a scaredy cat, getting on social media, not really knowing what would happen. But he was just so impressed about the community, the fragrance community in general, and then how they really embrace this product. And I said, well, you put out a good product. And I say the same thing to you guys. You guys put out a good product. It's very, for me, as someone in the community, it's very easy to talk about a product if it's good. And I think that speaks volumes as well. As like, you put out a good product, people want to talk about it, and the community in general, just like, hey, I think in mass, many of us want to champion smaller indie brands when they have good product, because one, the bigger brands, the designers, whatnot, they suck when it comes to building a community online. Two, the bigger brands are the bigger brands. They have the $1 million, $1 billion ad campaigns. Well, billions probably an exaggeration, but $1 million ad campaigns there in every department store and this and that. You can go and buy them and everything. I think because of that, many of us just say, hey, this is such a wonderful brand. Like, I love what you guys do. Um, Kirk Elliott. I've been a fan of what he's done over there and the fragrance they put out. Miss Darius. He and I, we talk offline every day. Like we become good friends. Heck, I'm meeting him for a meeting on Monday at the time of this recording. So just talking about how even with like those three, the community is really taking hold and champion what they done because one, you guys just seem like really good people in general, but two, you put out really good product, and it's very easy for me or anybody else to say, hey, I'm gonna rock with these guys, I'm gonna do a video about these guys, I'm gonna do this because this is really good product. So I would say it it's easier to build a community when you have something that community can very easily champion around.
Yeah. Well, thank you, and I appreciate that. And that, but that's very purposeful for us. Is we want to make sure, because here's the other thing. We feel that our community deserves a good product. There's no need to shortchange or shortcut our community. We deserve a great product because our expectations and our dollars are just as hard earned, and our expectation for quality is just as valid as any other demographic, and we honor that. That's an assumption that we build into everything that we do. And so if it's coming from Ovation for Men, you never really have to question the quality. You never have to question us thinking about the quality in the development of our product, of our brand message, of the quality of our visuals and everything that we do. Like, that's at the core of it because you deserve it. Our community deserves it. And I think for those other brands that have neglected us, we're here to make a statement. We're here to make a statement that if you do put in the level of quality, that you will be rewarded. And not in a selfish way, not to propose that as that's what it should be all about, how to be rewarded, but we deserve it. And I think we need to set an expectation that anyone that you decide to spend your money with, if they don't meet a certain level of quality to your expectations, then don't spend the money. And recognize that there are companies out here, Ovation for Men being one of them, that value, your expectation, and we want to meet it. And that's what we do every day. Everything that we do, we want to exceed your expectation, because that's the credibility that we need, and the trust, more than anything, the trust that we need to have with our community. And that's for everyone that's doing business with you. If they don't come to you in a trusting way, then I don't do business with them.
Right. That makes sense. I want to kind of focus on that value part that you said. And this is the one thing why, even personally, I will recommend smaller brands, indie brands, before I will tell someone to get a niche brand or a designer brand. In my opinion, and again, even going back to the three I mentioned, you, Kirk Elliott, and Mason Darius, the value that you get when you purchase a bottle. Because I believe what Ovation was is 80, 85, something to that point. It's been a while since I bought one. I need some
Yeah,
more.
well, I will say it has gone up. It is now over 100 now. But
It's
and
still
let me
working.
mention too, but listen, I know you're gonna get a bottle. So there's a promo code. If you Ovation 23, use that promo code. That'll get you a 15% discount, and it'll drop it below $100. There's a delivery charge that pushes it slightly over 100, but it'll drop it below $100 with that promo code.
Even at that price, it's still a 50 ml bottle?
Yeah, 50 ml.
Okay, 50 ml bottle. Okay, so like $2 an ounce, whatever. But even at that price, one of the things I love is that there is such a value for what you're getting. Yes, a bottle maybe 100, 150, even Nico Masero fan, I absolutely love their fragrances. But even for their, I believe it's 50, 60 ml bottles, over $100. But I feel comfortable purchasing and spending that kind of coinage with those fragrances. One, because I know they're going to be good. Two, because of the social media, I have a direct insight into how those fragrances are created, who is behind those fragrances. and
Right.
how much hard work goes into those fragrances. So essentially, as someone, on outside looking, I can see the sweat equity that goes into every single bottle. So I can say, oh, I totally understand why this fragrance is $150 for 50 mLs. Makes perfect sense. I will gladly pay that because I know in some way, shape, or form, I know where those dollars are going. I know it's going to feed Sean's family. I know it's going to put gas in his Corvette. I know I know where the money's going. So as a consumer, I have more of a sense of satisfaction because I know exactly where those funds are going when I purchase that bottle. Now, obviously, it's going a lot of other different places, but at the end of the day, those people I see, I know is going to their pockets to help with their families. And
Absolutely.
that is
Absolutely.
a different sort of relationship compared to if I go into an Ulta and I purchase a bottle of Dior Sauvage Elixir. That's a mega corporation from the Ulta all the way up to the Dior. And I don't even know who owns anybody anymore. It's everything's so
Right.
intertwined in that space. But I don't know where my money's going. I don't know who's benefiting from my money outside of directly those women that are working in Ulta that are, that purchase helps to keep the lights on and so they don't close down and, lose their jobs. That's direct. But there's a satisfaction again of knowing that, hey, this is where my dollars are going. This is the hard work that's put into creating this fragrance, and I'm seeing that directly. So I understand again, talking with Zach Mason de Darius and in the conversation I have and understanding his process and knowing how he sources things, or even talking to my man from Harmony Fragrances as well. Like just the work that goes into it. Like I have no issues paying that kind of money for a fragrance. And I
Yeah.
think that's where a lot of the love comes from as well, because so many of these indie brands are really utilized outside of the marketing aspect, but to be transparent into the process. They're taking the veil off in many respects. And for me, that gives more of an appreciation for the brand. I told George when I talked to him, one of the things that got me was when he was going all over the world to source all these oils, it was an education, and I could see his passion about what he was doing in creating this fragrance and working with Claude. So those are sort of things that really bring the creators into the community and then want to champion it as well. Again, when the juice is good as well.
Yeah, yeah, no, no, I'm sure Zach and Kirk and everyone appreciates you all seeing the work that they're doing. And big shout out to Zach, man. Zach, he and we probably communicate via DM at least once or twice a month, and Zach is just killing the game and how he has transformed his brand and
Yes.
the quality of his compositions are just outstanding. And
We
I
talk
think
about that all the time.
yeah, there's nothing but the sky's the limit for Zach and
Yeah.
all the great things. And Kirk, the same thing. Kirk's doing a lot of great things, and I know he's in the middle of sending out some orders for one of his newer fragrances right now. And so, those are my guys. We support each other. We too are a part of the community, and so I offer nothing but love and encouragement and respect and anything that I can do. I tell them all the time, like, use me. My platform is here to be used. Use me. Anything that I can do, let me know. And it's easy. It's not even a question, and that's for anyone in the community. We have to start establishing kind of a new protocol of how we deal with each other. And as black men, we have to learn how to talk to each other. We got to learn what's respectful. We got to learn how to deal with conflict. And resolve conflict. And I know everybody here trying to make money, but there's plenty of money to go around for all of
Very
us.
true.
And we just have to support each other and get over our egos. Yeah, I get it. We may have some moments where we feel like folks are stepping on our toes or doing this or doing that or saying this, but at the end of the day, get it off your chest and move on. And but ultimately, with the goal of making sure that we support each other and make sure that we push each other forward. So that's my attitude about it. There's room for all of us.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Now, just back up. So, Ovation for Men is you back in stock now?
Yeah, we're back in stock. So just to give you an update. We're back in stock. We got the most inventory we've had since we've launched the brand. We have a new global distribution partner with Amazon.com. So our product will actually be available on Amazon.
That's
Amazon will be Amazon will be fulfilling all of our orders. So we have an opportunity to tap into all the great global resources that Amazon has. You'll be able to search our product on Amazon.com. We're going to be putting a marketing campaign where you'll be hearing ads on Amazon Music, Alexa search, Amazon.com. You know, they also do the Thursday night NFL streaming broadcast. So we're looking at some opportunities to have some ad space there, and really just expand the reach and awareness of the brand to accompany our NIL initiatives. So yeah, we're excited about it. We're excited. New bottle, new packaging, and just a whole just everything about it. It's a whole Ovation 2.0, and we're just really excited. Really excited.
Well, I'm happy to hear that. That means I need to get a new bottle. And when does Ovation for Men Sport drop? What's the timetable for that?
Yeah, we'll be sending out for folks that are, because we're doing pre-orders right now. So
Okay.
all of our pre-orders will be going out the week of September 4th. And I'll be
September.
announcing, and then we'll be dropping some new content around that time also. So yeah, I mean, Ovation for Men Sport, and folks have been asking, I've been giving a couple of, you know, sneak peeks of the composition, but it's a fresh aromatic, clean. Top notes, we have some aqua, some bergamot, a little saffron to give it a bright opening. The mid notes dries down with linden blossom, coriander seed, and cedar leaf. So some florals, some sweet florals, but summertime fresh and slight herbal feel. And then on the base, we got some sandalwood, musk, amber, some tonka, and a little moss to soften it up a little bit. So again, definitely outdoor, definitely wood, definitely grass, but fresh, clean with some florals, with some sweet florals. We think it's just is blended masterfully, and we think it's going to be a big hit, and people are really going to enjoy it. Again, another easy reach. We want to stick to a tradition of creating products that you don't have to think too hard about. When you reach for it, it's going to be able to meet the need for any occasion. And so yeah, I think it's gonna be a great compliment to our signature Ovation for Men.
Thank you, Shawn. Now, Shawn, before I let you go, where can everybody find Ovation for Men?
So Ovation for Men, find us at OvationFragrance.com. Like I said, in the month of September, you'll be able to find us on Amazon. Just search Ovation for Men, search Shawn Crenshaw. You'll be able to find me, find the fragrance. Definitely go to our new website, OvationFragrance.com. And just we'll have all the information there. Reach out to me. There's a contact form if you want some additional information. But be on the lookout. We're going to be doing some pop-up shops in multiple markets coming up real soon. So yeah, we're wrapping up some big things. So just feel free to reach out. I answer all my DMs. I answer all contact forms that are sent to me over the website. So yeah, I'm easy to find. I'm easy to find. I'm here. So please reach out, and let's keep this thing going. As I say, every man deserves an ovation.
That's a great way to end it. Thank you, Shawn. Appreciate your time, man. You guys stay tuned for more. We'll see you next time.
I appreciate you. Next time.